So, in school we are taught many different types of history, but there are a lot of communities that we are not taught about. I'll be talking about the Stonewall Riots, which is a major turning point in the LGBT history. I would say I'm qualified on this topic due to extensive research that I've done not just for this speech, but also a paper I wrote last semester on this topic. The Stonewall Riots were one of the major turning points for LGBT rights, along with a way for the community to stand up for themselves. I will be talking about the tension between the LGBT community and normal society at the time, the tension leading up to Stonewall, and the riot themselves and the aftermath of said riots. The U.S. was very tense during the 1960s, not just with racial inequality, but also with the homophobic environment. In April of 1966, there was a sip-in at Julius Bar in Greenwich Village, New York. In an article, Milestones in American Gay Rights Movement, written by PBS, it says, when patrons entered the bar, announced that they were homosexuals, they were immediately denied service. It also goes on to state, this led to them suing the New York Liquor Authority and having it declare that they had a right to be served. In August, and then there's more instances. In August of 1966, there was an altercation between patrons of a cafeteria in San Francisco and the police. Also from PBS, it was after transgender customers became rambunctious in a 24-hour cafe, management called the police. The police made their way there and manhandled one of the patrons, which resulted in coffee being thrown in the officer's face. This ensued a riot, but it also established the National Transsexual Counseling Unit, which led to there being a lot of issues between the transgender community, especially, and the police. The police were usually tipped off about the different secret bars set up around the U.S. and raided them continuously. In an article titled Movements and Memories, The Making of the Stonewall Myth by Elizabeth Armstrong and Susanna Craig, it states, this was not unusual. Police raids of homosexual bars were common in New York and other American cities in the 1960s. The police used their authority to infiltrate the different locations, which led to many of the bars turning to other forms of protection, such as the mafia. Stonewall Inn was a gay bar in Greenwich Village, New York, that was under the protection of the local mafia. The mafia offered protection, but it came at a large cost to its patrons. As it states in Stonewall Riots, written by History.com, the patrons were wildly overcharged on their drinks, but also extorted for more money under the threat of being outed to their families and the public. The police violently entered this bar and began to forcefully remove the patrons. In celebrating Stonewall at 50 by Burton Varga, they say they began to passionately vocalize their displeasure and physically defy how they were being treated. From History.com, it also states, the violence drove the police into the building, where patrons repeatedly attempted to set fire to the building with the police still inside. The commotion led to a large gathering of people to show solidarity in the community. So due to the riots, the aftermath was huge. There was a huge uprising between the community and the normal society. They held marches that lasted days. It also went into weeks, but then we also are seeing it up to 50 years later, which just passed. The aftermath of the riot is continuously felt even to this day. Due to the historical significance of Stonewall, it is celebrated even 50 years later. Varga also states, on June 24, 2016, the Stonewall Inn was designated as a national monument by Barack Obama, who Obama was actually the first president to recognize LGBT rights and the history of the LGBT community. The riots were a huge eye-opener to the inequality that the community was facing at the time. So, Stonewall still and will remain one of the major milestones in LGBT history because it allowed the community to have a voice and to show their displeasure with the police and at the time the policies that were just going around. I talked about the buildup of tension in the U.S., the riot itself, and the aftermath of the riot. Stonewall gave the community a boost to fight for their rights. This event gave many people a voice and a drive to stand up against the oppressive society that they were subjected to. And that's all.